It's not very often that a car maker produces a new model that's just so much better than anything they've done before. I'm Tom Baker, this is Chasing Cars, and today I'm driving one of those groundbreaking vehicles. This safe, sexy Swedish machine is the 2014 Volvo S60 Polestar. We're going to call it now. This is the best car the Nordic countries have ever produced. It punches towards the BMW M3 and Mercedes C63, and even if it doesn't reach those lofty heights, it is seriously good. And it looks good too. This rebel blue paintwork is the Polestar's trademark colour, and the proportions are handsome, particularly here in the front where the turbo 3-litre 6 is concealed. But where the Polestar is particularly strong is inside. Let's get straight to the point in here and talk about these seats. As you'll know from our review of the XC60 SUV, Volvo makes some of the best seats in the business, and the sports buckets here in the Polestar are really great. They're beautiful to the touch with soft leather and nubuck inserts, and the strong bolstering keeps you well and truly in place during the corners. Otherwise, most elements of the Polestar's interior are similar fare to that found in the regular S60, which is very good inside. The only difference being the Polestar is more than a touch more expensive than other S60s. There's just one Polestar available, equipped with everything on the menu except a $2,000 sunroof, an option worth taking, and it will set you back about $110,000 on road. 110 grand for a Volvo? It better be pretty good. Thankfully, in here, it is good. The center stack still looks just as elegant as it did when it debuted, and it's very easy to use with climate and audio buttons down here controlling a sharp 7-inch color screen which supports the satellite navigation and all of your entertainment options. As you know, I'm a fan of a really good audio system, and the Polestar comes standard with an exceptional 10-speaker Meridian unit. It's a great sound system that adds to the driving experience. The bass is deep and rich, and you really feel the music, and the highs are crisp and clear. The back seats of the Polestar are another one of its surprises. It's certainly roomier back here than many performance sedans. I stand at 6'0", and I have really generous amounts of legroom, although my headroom is a little bit constrained by the sporty sloping roofline of this car. It's still tremendously comfortable back here, with mini versions of the seats in front that are trimmed just as luxuriously and help keep your back passengers in place during spirited driving. Your kids won't be complaining on long road trips back here, they'll be loving it. Forget about the middle seat being too practical though, it's more of a perch, and the fairly high transmission tunnel doesn't give that passenger much floor space. Sadly, the boot is where a big compromise begins in the S60 Polestar. The spare wheel doesn't fit under the floor like normal S60s, so it sits where your stuff should go, leaving you with less than 400 litres of rather unusable space. And to add insult to injury, the back seats don't fold at all. All there is a ski hatch in the middle, which is nice if you like the Nordic sports, but not great if you want to transport some bulkier items. You really get a sense behind the wheel of the S60 Polestar that this is the car Volvo always wanted to build. The rest of their range drives well, if not outstandingly. Let me be clear, the S60 Polestar is outstanding. All of this became clear when we took the Polestar up the Putty Road, which is a 170km stretch between Sydney and the Hunter Valley, which really pulls out the best and the worst in any performance car. Let's start with the things we really enjoyed about the Polestar, and that's the engine. Although the Polestar shares the core of its 3-litre turbo 6 with the 35 grand cheaper S60 T6, so much more is made at the Powerplant in this car. And its 257 kilowatts of power and 500 newton meters of torque give you a sense of its brutish abilities. It pushes you back into these beautiful seats as it punches to 100 with launch control in just 4.8 seconds. The 6-speed automatic seems like the transmission Polestar always wanted to put in this car. It now has paddle shifters, which have really quick response times, and blip downshifts, which means the transmission now adds to the experience of the Polestar rather than detracting from it like last year's car. The ride quality is also quite exceptional, and that's because Volvo has spent some money putting in expensive Öhlins dampers on all 4 corners of the Polestar. These dampers are adjustable from 0 to 20, 20 being super sports and 0 being supple comfort. We've had them on 10, and that's where you want them because it's a good blend of dynamics at high speed with relative comfort around town. The bad news is that only the dealer can change the settings of the dampers. The putty road can really bring out a lot in the handling of a car, and let me start by saying that the S60 Polestar is so much improved on any other Volvo product, and it is really competitive, but the steering, while strong, still cannot match the BMW M3 or the Mercedes C63 AMG, which are so sharp and so tight. And when Volvo eventually makes the S60 Polestar turn on attack like those cars, this will be seriously competitive. It's also a bit surprising how noisy the Polestar is in the cabin, and it's not the right kind of noise. Above 100, there's a surprising amount of road and wind noise that bleeds in, and you don't get that with any other S60, so it's a bit strange. The exhaust has a really low, mean note, which sounds really good, but you want to hear a lot more of it. If you're spending 120 grand on a performance car, you want it to sound a bit nasty at times, and the Polestar's manners are just a bit too good. But where you'll appreciate those manners is in the safety credentials. There are 6 airbags in here, which, although it doesn't sound like much, it's definitely enough, and the active technology is quite impeccable. The Polestar gets radar cruise and a 2-stage traction control system that lets you have a bit of fun while keeping you safe with the all-wheel drive system. There's also a standard reversing camera. Now to running costs. Fuel consumption, not great. In town you're in the 12s and that drops into the 8s on the highway, so let's call the real world figure 11 litres per 100 kilometres. And servicing isn't capped, and the hardware and tear on a sports car could make this an expensive maintenance proposition in future. If you want real performance, the S60 Polestar's got it. If you want good looks, it's got it. If you want an incredibly comfortable and rapid cruiser, it's got it. But if you want an M3 beater, this probably isn't the car for you. However, I reckon this doesn't matter. The S60 Polestar is genuinely quick, but more importantly, it has soul, which is something the Germans often lack. And as always, you can click up here to read much more about the S60 Polestar over on our website.